Fallout New Vegas is a messy game. It's also a masterpiece. A messy, gross, buggy master. Okay, look, let's step back. Further. Oh, okay, I don't even want to see this right now. Show me Fallout 3. There you go. We'll start here. Fallout 3 was Bethesda's first crack at the franchise. You may know some of their other works. Many of them are actually pretty popular. And in 2008, they released Fallout 3, a post-apocalyptic trip into the capital wasteland that put a huge emphasis on choice, more so than most games at that time. You want to run in and destroy everyone and everything with a baseball bat? Well, to the detriment of every cowboy hat-wearing sheriff, that's your prerogative. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could just, talk to people. I guess that would work. Baseball bat! With a largely customizable character, as well as a world that would bend to your will on some rare occasions, Fallout 3 was a huge success, even earning some Game of the Year nods, despite the fact that the aiming system felt like you were toting around a bucket of rocks. So that was Fallout 3, an awesome game that was a bit glitchy, but fairly innovative and just really fun to play. So while Bethesda was working on their next project, they basically went to another studio and said, hey, we're gonna be over here doing Elder Scrolls stuff. Would you mind taking all of these assets, just make another Fallout game in the meantime? Cool? Okay, cool. That studio was Obsidian Entertainment, and that game was Fallout New Vegas.
In the new world of the Mojave Wasteland, fighting continued, blood was spilled, and many lived and died just as they had in the old world. Because war never changes.
Now, before we get into it, I'll be playing the Xbox 360 version for this playthrough, primarily because my computer barely has enough processing power to run a game of Minesweeper.
You got what you were after, so pay up.
You play as a courier who is immediately threatened by Chandler Bing from Friends. And no, I'm not kidding, that's Chandler.
Time to cash out.
You're smoking? What are you doing?
Hey, shut up! You're not my real mom!
The opening cutscene has you getting shot in the head, and that's the game.
Game over!
Of course you survive, and are put through a few tests by a local cowboy doctor. What's with the cowboys? Essentially, this is the GOAT from Fallout 3. You remember the Generalized Occupational Aptitude Test? It's basically just a series of questions to help mold your base stats.
Almost done here. What do you say you have a look at this? Tell me what you see.
H, 4, M, potato shape, coffee mug shape.
Of course, if you just like to edit these stats on your own, that's fine too. Sneaking, bartering, repairing, sciencing, they're all here. Plus a new survivor skill, which can be used in crafting consumables at campfires, which I don't think I ever used. You're also given a vault suit and a Pip-Boy, because it's Fallout, I guess. Yeah, this was kind of a weird move to me as well. In Fallout 3, you actually grew up in a vault and understood the magnitude of actually leaving it. While the intro is a bit of a slow burn, it establishes a lot of what this franchise is all about, and why your adventure is necessary. Here, you're just kind of thrown into it, which is fine, but I mean, take a look at BioShock 1 and 2, for example. A very similar situation to that of Fallout 3 and New Vegas, as the two were developed by different studios. We can actually draw a lot of parallels here, from the cinematic intro being longer in the second game, to a more polished and refined opening in the first. That doesn't mean the second game's opening sequences are terrible or even bad, but a certain lack of investment in the world building is pretty evident. And maybe that's because these games know they're sequels. They know that we know this world already.
But see, they don't know that we know that they know.
New to, New Vegas, is the addition of factions. The intro informs us of multiple groups to keep an eye out for, the most prominent among them being the New California Republic, or the NCR, and Kaisar's Legion, a radical group hoping to seize control over Hoover Dam, a seemingly endless source of electricity. And before you say it, yes, I know it's pronounced Caesar. They just call it Kaisar because... Yep. Add to that New Vegas itself, run by the elusive Mr. House, and we're not even scratching the surface of what this game has to offer. There are a ton of factions that exercise their power over different areas of the Mojave Desert. The Boomers are a reclusive bunch of explosive-obsessed soldiers with the hopes of dominating the skies with old warplanes, while the Kings are a group of Elvis impersonators, or worshippers, your choice, who have not only adopted his overall style, but his speech patterns as well, which is pretty frickin' hilarious.
The thing of it is, we don't even know what his name was. All the posters just referred to him as the King.
To give the game credit, none of these factions are initially what they seem. Most of them have a hidden agenda or take ideas to some rather unpleasant extremes.
I hear rumors, that's about it. Supposedly they keep slaves and they got some real nasty ways of killing folks. But maybe that's just something folks in the NCR cooked up to make themselves seem more useful here.
None of them are completely good, and none of them are completely evil. And that's interesting. So interesting, in fact, that you can push support for various factions to understand more about what makes them tick. What's more, you can take down some of these faction heads outside of missions. I mean, you won't be able to interact with them anymore, but the fact that the game keeps going even if you've straight up murdered a faction leader, that's pretty impressive. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Walking out into the Mojave, you're given a lot of freedom. Those stats and skills you'll acquire through leveling up will allow you to tackle objectives in a number of different ways. And considering some of those stats can actually work themselves into conversations, it's sometimes best to invest your experience in multiple areas.
Submit to a credit check. Thank you, sir. You may proceed.
Being able to avoid entire quest lines by simply talking someone out of my way was incredibly rewarding. Ironically, I was a bit speechless when it came to how many options I was given during just one conversation. Not to mention my speech skill was practically through the roof.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must.
Get used to disappointment.
A lot of outlets have praised the overall mission design featured in New Vegas, and yeah, I see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I could have ended buried in the sands with just my head sticking out.
I like that I was able to launch a caravan of religious mutants to their new home, and I found the concept of finding people to be part of a sleazy nightclub with, questionable tastes to be a surprisingly fresh concept. Very much unlike the people I recruited. But that doesn't stop some of the more monotonous quests from weighing you down. For example, the King's quests were outrageously boring. Go here, grab this, go there, tell that person this. Come on, people!
I'm not an owl!
Regardless, there's a lot to get invested in here. And considering your faction standing actually affects how some of these missions play out, it's best to just do anything you can to help out.
To our new friend, we say thanks. And promise never to forget how we cleared from our path the demons who sought to stay our journey.
Though in the end, it falls into that typical RPG trap.
What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?
Let's talk atmosphere for a bit, because that's something that Fallout 3 was absolutely drenched in. And it's one of my favorite aspects of, well, any game, really. Bethesda's capital wasteland was desolate, but also sort of mysterious, like it had a lot to hide, but didn't mind sharing its secrets for those who dug deep enough. The Oasis is a wonderful example of this, a paradise hidden off the beaten path that just so happens to contain a tree man.
Fighter of the night, man!
I'll give New Vegas some credit. It sets up the titular city incredibly well. Day or night, it's almost always visible in the distance, a proverbial mountain of shining lights that you're seemingly always working toward. Unfortunately, there's nobody here. Okay, I understand this game came out in 2010. We can't have, like, 100 people in any given area. Hell, we can barely manage 10. But yeah, New Vegas is pretty empty in that regard. Like, walking into a casino, it's just... I can appreciate the environmental details. The huge flashing signs certainly sell the essence of, Vegas, but the fact that there's like no one here deflates the prospect of a bustling city full of activity. Luckily, some of the best missions in the game can be found in these gambling halls, emphasizing that sense that there's always something hiding beneath the surface.
Welcome to the finest vault hotel in the whole world.
In fact, gaining access to New Vegas proved to be more interesting than, actually being there, as the entrance to the city is surrounded by a seedier town known as Freeside, which I found to be more fleshed out than its flashier neighbor on the other side of the wall. You can also gamble, which I didn't do much of because I could usually get by selling extra guns and equipment. There's also a card game called Caravan, which I tried at least 200 times and never understood what I was doing. I looked it up online, I learned nothing.
So you get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
And I think that's about it. Gunplay is basically the same, the presentation hasn't changed much outside of a more diverse color palette, so yeah, that's Fallout New Vegas. Oh wait! I forgot one minor detail. This game is a f***ing glitch fest.